Welcome to Living Legacy Leadership, where we explore, discover, and share insights, tools, and strategies for a life well lived into elderhood. I'm your host, Donna Kim-Brand, author, speaker, legacy strategy coach, and creator of the concept Living Legacy, where you choose to live life on your own terms while contributing to people, places, and projects along your life journey. I believe that the life you live is the legacy you leave. Now, the guests I bring to you each week all address some unique aspect of learning, leadership, or legacy. This helps you raise your own game as a leader in business and life, and also showcases some extraordinary people who exemplify living legacy leadership. At least once a month, I also offer a training session to skill you in game changer thinking for your own application. So get your notebook ready or sharpen your memory by tuning in your attention, and we'll dive right in. Well, today is a game changer thinking day in the sense that I'm going to share with you a little bit about grabbing the reins of your mental well-being by gaining control of your runaway brain. Whoa. So we're going to talk about various ways to reset your nervous system to a new equilibrium so you feel less stressed. Anybody out there feeling stressed? So by calming your monkey mind, you can establish a new normal and feel like your life is back on track. Now, there's a lot of assumptions built into all of that. We are, as we are recording here, in several months into the coronavirus, the COVID-19 pandemic. And so life is not normal. Globally, incredible things have been happening around the world, of course, with social distancing where you can't get close to other people, of sheltering in place, not being able to go out except for essential services. And in some countries, you literally have to have a permission slip. And if you don't have it, the police will fine you or arrest you for violating that public trust. In fact, here in the United States, in Florida, the former Patriot quarterback, Tom Brady, was just given a citation yesterday for practicing doing some exercise out in a public park that in fact was off limits. It was supposedly closed, and he thought he was safe because he was all by himself, but he was actually cited because the park is closed in order to prevent people gathering. So it doesn't matter who you are, your status in life, your race, your religion, your national origin, sexual preference, job description, you name it, everything is out of whack. And we are a couple of months into very strained and, for many people, very difficult situations. The irony for me is I have recently sold my house, and I'm very graciously being accepted into a spare room of a neighbor and a colleague for a couple of months. And for me, the irony is I'm in this little room, but I'm feeling more free because I'm free to focus. I have a tendency to be all over the place simply because I'm very nosy and curious about things going on in the world. I have multiple hats I wear professionally as well as personally, and so I'm often on the move, and I am now not so much on the move. In fact, I have to remember to move. So in terms of resetting our chaotic brains, there are a couple of things we can do. So let's start with this one. Let's take in the good as much as, if not more than, the bad. Now, it does take some practice because our brains are wired to take in what we might call the bad. Why is this? It's for our self-protection. So in this time of constant high alert, the part of our brain that triggers our adrenaline rush, leading to fight, flight, freeze, or appease, is triggered. And we do get paralyzed. And so literally, I know many people who literally are paralyzed on their couch hours and hours and hours of a day, watching and being scared to death by the news and being pissed off by the various conflicting views that they get either on the same channel or switching channels because everybody's got something to say and a lot of it doesn't seem to match. And it changes over time as we find out more information, which it should for the most part, unless we were force-fed wrong information maliciously from the beginning, in which case then you have reason to be pissed off. But we don't always know that. This is an unfolding new epidemic, pandemic, and so we have to stay on top of it. But please, turn the TV off. Just tune in when you need to catch up and get an update. But also tune into those channels, or if it's not on TV, tune into other things that bring you calm, bring you joy, bring you some pleasure, whether it's walking out in nature to the degree you're allowed to, just laying on the grass out behind your house and watching the clouds go by, turning on some nice music, having conversations, whether it's in person, socially distanced, of course, in your house or over the phone or in a Zoom conference line or by texting, whatever it is. So in a sense, what you're really doing is taking your foot off the accelerator of your life. And what happens when you take your foot off the accelerator in a car is that it slows down of its own accord. And when you slow down as a person, you regain a sense of control, which is often what makes that monkey mind go berserk. We just feel out of control, especially when we feed our brains with lots and lots of negative information. So first step in resetting your chaotic brain is to take in more good information than bad information. And by the way, how the mechanism works of information that goes from outside of us, wherever we get it from, TV, other people, magazines, newspapers, telephone conversations, you name it, anything outside of us, how it gets into our thought process is it has to come in through our senses. We see it, we hear it, we smell it, we taste it, we touch it in some way, and it comes into our brain either as a thought or as a feeling. If it comes in first as a thought, it very often triggers a feeling. If it comes in as a feeling, it triggers a thought. So they work kind of in tandem. We then interpret those thoughts and feelings based on prior knowledge or the larger context, what's being fed to us at the time, or our, things we've been brought up with that are part of our assumption or belief system. So we interpret those thoughts and feelings. We then either choose to integrate them or not into our life. And based on keeping them as part of our thought system or discarding them, we then take actions. Now, the actions either end up in a behavior, we do something, or we say something, or in fact, we learn something and we store it for later application. So that's why it's really important to pay attention and filter the inputs you're putting into your brain, because ultimately it ends up as outputs in learning or behavior or things you say. So you are in charge of what you filter into your brain and then how you output it later. Okay, so here's another thing. Another way to reset your chaotic brain is to stack things that you find are comforts, pleasurable experiences, relaxation and fun. Bring those things into your life. So again, as we mentioned about the good earlier, build in things like walks in nature, time with dear family or friends, watch old movies, spend time in the garden, learn how to cook, look at old photos, whatever it is that brings you pleasure. Build that in and let it compound on itself. Okay, and so it's not just good and bad, but it's also what brings you comfort. Could be just wrapping up in a warm blanket with a cup of tea or a glass of wine and reading an old book or a good book, or just sitting and thinking for a while or looking at a beautiful scene. Okay, a third thing you can do to reset your chaotic brain and grab the reins of your mental well-being is to restore or have a restorative routine, starting in the morning when you wake up, maybe during the day, and also in the evening. So in the morning, I'm an early riser. So I tend to wake up early, 6 o'clock usually. I either do a reading or sometimes I listen. These days, I've just finished a 10-day online healing meditation with someone who led us from individual through global healing meditations. And then I go outside for about a 20 to 45-minute walk. I'm in a neighborhood where I'm close enough to walk to a body of water, which is fantastic. I do my stretches and my breathing and some tapping on my fingers with some things that I say, and then come back and make a lovely cup of coffee, and then then have a shower once I've cooled down, and then get on with my day. Other people will have their own things to do. On Sundays, by the way, I do go out to the beach at sunrise and journal in my notebook. So that's another thing I do when I wake up early. You have your own routines, whatever it is for you. In fact, why don't you do steps 1 and 2 I mentioned, something that's really good and something that stacks comfort for you as part of your morning routine. During the day, maybe it's taking breaks for lunch or having lunch with certain people or having special drinks or foods that you like that tickle your fancy and inspire you to keep going throughout the day. And then by the evening, whatever your routines are, whether it's catching up on the news, whether it's having a chat with somebody or several people, listening to audiobooks, whatever it is for you that is a restorative routine. Now, we do say that it helps to be intentional, and you have to sort of downgrade your energy as you wind down for the evening for deep restorative sleep. And part of the thing is you need to cut out caffeine. The recommendation is after 7 p.m. Cut out blue screens, which means not on your cell phones or iPads or laptops or computers or even TVs after, up to 2 hours before you're trying to go to sleep, because the blue rays, again, infest you and make it harder to go to sleep. But of course, what works best for you, and why not experiment? And we also are aware that about 40% of Americans are generally sleep deprived. And so if you can use this time to catch up on your sleep, why not? Build in some routines that lets you have that deep REM sleep, and maybe you'll have some really cool dreams, which is part of stacking your pleasures. And build that in for yourself, because it's really very, very yummy and helps you, again, feel more like you're in control and not so frazzled and running on fear and running on adrenaline. Here's another step. Explore or consider either coaching, or if you feel a more extreme need with anxiety or depression or something, you can check out therapy. Nowadays, we're not supposed to be going to have massages and those kinds of things, but some people have access to swimming pools, or you can have a family member in your household give you massage, or you can learn self-massage through YouTube probably, and lots of other websites that will teach you how to build in routines for your physical health as well as your mental health. And, all of us have bugaboos. We're all sort of wrapped up somewhere with emotional turmoil. We're triggered by old memories or old things, old traumas maybe that are still embedded in our energetic structure. So whether it's talking to friends that you trust, whether it's new relationships with colleagues that you feel you can have deeper conversations with, or find yourself a coach or a therapist that allows you to feel transparent about what's going on for you. Because sometimes transparency, I've found, leads to more accountability